Ichigo awakens by Talacha, Chapter 50, Eternal Bonds, with Rukia. She was sitting on the rooftops of the ramshack hut that she and the siblings were using as a home, shifting through the memories she had to try and remember their names and who that dark figure was. The thick memory fog was slowly dispersing, revealing the destitute buildings in the district. For some reason, she just felt empty, like so much was lost. Part of her felt like the siblings were lying when they said she was simply asleep after an accident, but she couldn't think of them doing such a thing from the sweet kids she knew. The dark figure is the key to whatever is going on with her. Now, if only she knew where he was. Rukia, the girl called out as she joined Rukia on the roof. Can I join you? She admitted timidly. Rukia nodded and the girl went to her side. Rukia, is something wrong? She asked, concern deep in her voice. So many things. A part of Rukia wanted to scream out. Her headaches were made of dull throbs, but when she thought she got close to something that might resemble an answer, she became unbearable. They became unbearable. It's odd that I've come home to this town for the first time in ages, she said, trying to coax something out of the girl. I feel like a stranger because I know almost nothing about myself. The girl laid her head on Rukia's shoulder, looking worried for her, or maybe guilt of the amnesia Soul Reaper had to wonder. The two of you waited for me, waited for the names I said I would give you after so many years. The girl looked up to her sister figure, tears threatening to spill from her eyes. I will give you those names, I promise, she said, confident that her memories will return. Thank you, the girl whispered as she wiped the wetness from her eyes as the morning sun rose. The fog dispersed under its rays as the scenery became clearer. The most important to Rukia was a plateau that overlooked the district. What is it? The girl asked as Rukia stood up. Memories of her other friends came back to her, the friends she had to bury after they were lost to the cruel life of the lower district. That place. I remembered, she said, looking at the steep earthly formation. The girl's brother revealed himself and came out to join them. After patrolling the areas, Rukia turned to face the two. I have to go there. I might remember something, she said, pointing at where she remembered burying her other friends. The siblings looked nervous before nodding in agreement. With Ichigo, I heard the lower districts were the worst, but actually seeing it, Ichigo started as he and Renji were walking through his old hometown. I can understand the animosity between the Rukon and the Serte. The people were giving them a wide berth, and many were glaring daggers at the two, some with actual daggers out and ready. I almost forgot how bad it was, Ichigo said, only going through the renovated districts that was Squad 14's territory. Every day was a struggle for survival. Renji said, less than happy to be back in the district. Stealing and killing was common here. You can only rely on the few friends you made. Kids risk their lives every day just to get enough food and water to survive. I'd be lying if I said I missed this place. Got a lot of bad memories here. He looked up to an overlooking plateau that stood to watch over the entire district like a silent guard dog for all the good it did for the street rats and bums that littered the district of Hanging Dog. That spot, he said, pointing at the extended ledge of the formation, is where I had to build graves for my friends and where I swore to become a Soul Reaper. Ichigo looked at where he pointed and took a wild guess. Rukia told me you were childhood friends. Think she'd be there? She did tell him about growing up in the slums of the Rukon district, how harsh it was, how Renji was happy for her when she had a chance to live the life of luxury being a kuchiki could give. The day she and Renji buried their friends and swore to become Soul Reapers. If what you said is true, then it's possible, Renji said, crossing his arms and thought. And thinking back, there was someone else with me when I decided to become a Shinigami. The two lieutenants looked at each other and nodded, flash-stepping their way to the old graves to try and find clues. It took the two little time to reach the path that led to the overlook, and a little more to reach the old grave sites. Once they reached it, they found Rukia praying over the stacks that served as the gravestones of her and Renji's friends. She stood up and saw them, her eyes widening in recognition of the two. Ichigo stepped forward with a smile on his face. I was getting worried about you. Are you okay? He asked as she nodded. Just then smoke appeared in front of Rukia as the siblings appeared and took an aggressive stance. The brother with the scythe and the sister with the teleportation abilities. Soul Reaper! She growled accusingly. Why did you come here? The brother asked her more calmly. Ichigo felt the hollow ratio within them, almost perfectly tied to their souls, almost like a visor with hollification. Almost. Renji glared and got ready to attack before Ichigo raised his hand, making him relax, albeit unwillingly. Ichigo wanted to resolve this peacefully, but he doubted that would happen. He needed to destroy the hollow that infected these two. We've seen the video recordings of of you two in action, Ichigo said, trying to appeal to them from their recent actions and the fact that Rukia was unharmed. He judged that they weren't bad and simply desperate. He needed them calm. Then they could do something about the hollow infecting them. Had it been anyone but Kisuke Guardian what you attacked, then the Serite would be a mess right now. The two tensed up just a little more while Rukia looked at them in confusion. We can offer you to a place among the Shinigami, stable lives, income, home, and you can stay by Rukia's side after she gets her memories back. The look on the two faces were almost comical with their disbelief. The brother was considering it while the sister soon became enraged. You think you can trick us, Soul Reaper? She roared, looking furious at the two. All you do is take and take. She was about to say more, but the next words just slipped out of Ichigo's words. Like how you took Rukia's memories, he said, making everyone widen their memories in shock. Rukia out of sense of betrayal, the siblings for realizing that Rukia might not trust them anymore, and Ichigo and Renji for just how stupid it was to say that. Crap! He groaned as he facepalmed, letting Rukia see a glint on his finger. Wordlessly, she charged forward, past the siblings, and grabbed his hand. She looked at his ring, her own, and then back at him. Ichigo, she started before her head threatened to split apart. Ah! The siblings rushed to her side. Rukia! The siblings cried, going to her side, hugging her and pulling her back. Damn Soul Reaper! The brother cried, charging and teleporting in front of Ichigo. Renji, watch and analyze it! Ichigo yelled out as he drew his blade to block the scythe. There was a loud clang as the two weapons clashed. The calcified matter of the red and white scythe against the reishi constructed of Ichigo's Sanpakuto. The scythe wither suddenly disappeared, and everything in Ichigo screamed to turn and dodge. He obeyed in instinct just in time to dodge the crimson blade from cutting off his head. Roar, Zamimaru! Ichigo heard Renji whisper as the segmented blade attacked the boy. He blocked it and jumped back, using the force of the blow to join his sister. Damn it! He cursed as he joined Ichigo's side. I thought I said stay back and watch! Ichigo growled as the siblings disappeared, taking Rukia with him. That ain't good. He groaned as his mission became so much harder than it seemed to be. Any idea where they might have gone? Renji asked, taking a small moment to go to his friend's grave and pray. No, but I can find out. Ichigo sighed, hating the incoming headache. I can sense people's reishi if I'm familiar enough with it, but whatever those two did mess up Rukia's, so I can't find her specifically. My alternative is my pesquisa. Renji took a moment to look at him with confusion. Spirit sonar to try and find them. The problem is there are so many strong spirits around us, and I'll get a bitch of a headache doing it. Do you have any other options? Renji asked, prompting a sigh from Ichigo. He closed his eyes and set out a pulse of reishi. He found dozens of potential recruits, but it wasn't until he felt something traveling through the districts to the SRDI at high speeds. Found them. Ichigo grunted as he grasped his head in agony. They're heading for Tower 7, Ichigo said, as Renji supported the hybrid and began moving as fast as he could to their destination. SRDI Tower 7. Damn it! The girl cursed as she and her brother carried Rukia and flew through the air, back to where they tried to attain a powerful weapon, back to where they were proven to be vulnerable. She thought they were unstoppable. They could teleport across the battlefield on their own. She could displace particularly anything, and he could undo memories and bonds with the swirling of his scythe. They were forced to flee by that one captain as he matched their combat prowess and crippled them with a drug that filled the air. They were stonewalled by a single lieutenant before his words decided to help. They weren't going to be able to keep Rukia to themselves and get the names she promised. If things continued this way, they had to get the weapons under their control. Then they would be invincible. They had key. They just had to activate the tower. Came into sight when she noticed her brother slowing down. What's wrong? She asked, calmer now that they escaped the Shinigami for a moment. Maybe we went too far, he finally said, looking back at her older sister figure he carried and earning a gasp from her sister. Maybe we took so much of her memories that she'd never remember our names for all eternity. He wondered as he looked at his sister. That would be horrible. Stop it! She yelled, looking on the verge of tears. She can't remember what happened that day, no matter what happened. She shivered from the thought of losing her sister, already a giant risk from the Soul Reaper accusing them of taking Rukia's memories. They couldn't let her remember how they died, how they lost her to a Soul Reaper with some weird creature. She'd abandoned them. They'd lose her again, and she couldn't live with that, even if it meant never getting their names. The offer that Lieutenant made seemed tempting, but she couldn't remove her hate for the Shinigami. They took their sister, and they would pay for it. We can't take the chance. We must destroy the Soul Reapers, she stated with conviction as they teleported inside the tower to where the Reishi device was located, oddly enough, completely vacant, but they just counted that as a blessing. They made their way to the device as the brother tried to activate it with the vial. It seems like it works, he said after watching electricity spark from the machine. He went closer and closer to the machine, ready to do whatever it took to activate it and stop the Shinigami. Then a voice called out that made them pause. "Stop," Rukia said as she came into the room, clutching her head in pain. The girl was simply happy to see her sister awake and worried about her health. "Rukia, are you alright?" she said, going to the Soul Reaper's side. "I'm fine. I'm remembering so much," she said through her teeth, scaring the siblings. "You can't activate whatever that is. It will destroy the whole Cerate." The siblings were back in shock at her statement, not so much at the potential destruction, but that she cared so much about the Shinigami that made their lives miserable. "Rukia, the girl said as she started to cry. "I can't. They must be destroyed. They'll take you away again. I can't bear that," she said as she started breaking down, only to be enveloped in a hug by the petite Soul Reaper. "I won't abandon you," she said reassuringly, rubbing the girl's back soothingly. "Ichigo said you'd be with us. Trust me, my husband would never lie," she said, hoping to calm the girl down. She never saw the look of shock and betrayal on their faces. "You're what?" the girl asked, grasping Rukia tighter and tighter as her Raichu started fluctuating out of control. "Oh no," Rukia thought as the girl's Raichu exploded as she screamed in sorrow and madness. Her embrace was becoming almost painful as she continued screaming. "Rukia, sister!" the brother called out, worried about the both of them, scared that his sister cracked and scared that Rukia was going to get badly hurt. "They won't take you away. We won't lose you again," she cried out, her voice becoming twisted with distortion. The brother felt a spike of agony as if something tried to force him under control. They all exploded as Ichigo came through, accompanied by Renji and Byakuya, who came as soon as the building started to disappear and fall from the sky. "Rukia!" the three yelled out as the torrent of power blew up a powerful gust of wind. "Rukia is our Soul Reaper. Rukia is ours, the Soul Reapers!" the girl screamed through her warped voice. "You hear me? Mine!" The swirling power grew more violently as the brother went to his sister's side, moving like a marionette on strings. Inside the Zangetsu, Ichigo called out in his inner spirit, hoping that this hollow side could come up with something. Clearly, that pathetic hollow that infected those two has driven them insane, Zangetsu said, watching the creature he found disgusting perform its wretched acts. "Chances are it's behind everything, and it's grabbed away enough of their society to make them do its bidding. And you should stop this right now," he said with urgency as the brother reached his sister and Rukia exploding in a torrent of dark reishi. The last Ichigo saw them was their eyes screaming for help. The Renji soon settled to reveal a dark version of Rukia. She wore a tattered white kimono with a high collar with a red cape and gold obai. She had lavender hair and eyes that were cat-like in appearance, looking at them with no emotion other than cold hate, wielding the large white and crimson scythe. "Crap!" Ichigo muttered under his breath as the figure before him ripped off the control vial and was about to slam it back into the pedestal of its creation, surely to cause an overload to the system. Acting quickly, Ichigo shot a bola at the control panel and destroyed it, which prompted Rukia to turn and glare at him before attacking. The strike was harder than he expected, sending him flying back at the corrupted Rukia as the corrupted Rukia followed. Deeming this as an emergency situation, he undid his second seal and met his wife on the battlefield. They danced a violent dance. She attacked, he dodged, she teleported, he kept up with her. She struck him with a violent blast of energy from swinging of that scythe. He weathered it, grabbed it, and tested it aside. She tried to impel him, and he blocked, locking the blades at each other. "Any ideas of how to stop this without killing her?" Ichigo asked his Sanpakuto spirits. one, but it involves you implanting your reishi into her, Sanpakuto said, sounding bloodthirsty at the prospect of a coming battle. Go as you will, he said, leaving Ichigo to figure out how to do as his blade suggested. He tried to ponder as the ground beneath them cracked under the combined pressure until he looked at his dear wife's eyes. Beyond the hollow's control, they were screaming for help. Little damn cliches, he thought, as he grabbed her behind the neck. His hollow reishi flared to its maximum to match the powerful to match and overpower Rukia's own. As he pulled her in for a kiss, powering his reishi into her, the last sound anyone heard was twisted laughing in Ichigo's own tone. Illustrated Guide to Soul Reapers, the Rukia alternative line. The energy soon settled to reveal dark version of Rukia, who wore a tattered white kimono with a high collar, with red cape and gold obai. She had lavender hair and eyes that were cat-like in appearance, looking at them with no emotion other than cold hate, wielding a large white and crimson scythe. Holy! Byakuya exclaimed in shock. Shit! Ichigo cursed at being too late. Exclamation mark! Renji said, prompting the other two to look at him before punching him in his face. Masaki's current state, after Ichigo ran off to do whatever mission it was to save the world or whatever, Masaki needed time to process what happened. She was frozen in process and stayed like that through dinner, and then through family time with her daughters. And then they had a bath where they had to clean her and put her to bed. Morning came and she was still frozen by the time Ishin returned. After a few hours, they called Ryukin, who came by to take a look. You know what's wrong? Ishin asked, having to put his clinical doctor's skills on hold, as Ryukin was a higher authority there. It's less medical and more psychological, Ryukin said, as if in his examination. She must have heard something that was too shocking for her to handle. The doctor turned to the girls. Any idea what it was? Well, Ichi did mention he was married, Karin suggested. This caught Masaki's attention as she began to choke and shake Ishin, demanding what happened to her baby boy. Well, she's better now, the senior Quincy said, packing up his things. Let's get some ice cream before we become witnesses to a murder. End of chapter 50. Ichigo awakens by Talacha, chapter 51, the two that shine bright, Squad 4 Hospital. Rukia late sleeping, recovering after the events of the whole memory theft debacle. After Ichigo destroyed the hollow parasite, everyone moved as fast as they could to keep the situation in the best possible condition. And Tensai had permission to use the forbidden time Kido to freeze the siblings and Rukia in time, while Urahara finished stasis pods for each of them. After the initial calamity with the hollification, Urahara did not want any chances. It was expected that Rukia and the siblings would eventually hollify. The last attack of the parasite, Ichigo never once left Rukia's side at all in that time. Eventually, she began to wake up inside the stasis field. Hey, Rukia, Ichigo whispered as her eyes began to open up. Nice to see you again, she moaned as she slowly roused herself from the sleep she was in. Ichigo, what happened? She asked as she slowly sat up, confused by his lack of action. Ichigo, what is this? She finally noticed the stasis Kido she was in. She looked scared as she stared at her lover in the eyes. His expression was filled with concern for her as he sympathized with her worries. The memory-eating hollow is dead, Rukia. He started, hoping the good news would keep her calm. You and the siblings are safe for the moment. His expression became more sober as he got the bad news. But your souls had bonded with Hollow Reishi, the parasites, and then mine. You three are being kept in these fields until Urahara can determine your safety, he explained as he examined the glowing glasses-like barrier. How did we get your Hollow Reishi? She finally asked, almost accusingly. Well, Ichigo started as he averted his eyes. Flashback, Rukia's inner world. It was a vast landscape of ice and snow, shining like crystals in the light of a sun, never disturbed. New flakes always coming down and keeping it in the beautiful white and rainbow lights. Only two beings ever occupied this land: this beautiful icy wasteland, Rukia and her Sanpakuto, Sode no Shirioyuki. Rukia and many others saw her as the most beautiful of the ice-type Sanpakuto, and her world reflected that beauty and the dangers of the cold. Now that beautiful frozen landscape was in disarray by a harsh blizzard, covering everything in a biting gust and darkness. What once housed only two beings now held three more. the siblings Rukia wanted to protect and keep safe, and the parasite that craved her life. So much power! The hungry beast cried out as they bashed against the ice wall Shirayuki made to protect Rukia and the siblings, all unconscious as the hollow forced the fusion. Give it to me! Its warp screaming and crashed against the Sanpakto's ears, needing to restore the wall after another slash from its tail. She would have no trouble against such a pathetic leech, but after gorging itself on so much reishi from the siblings and Rukia's own before they escaped, it grew to gigantic proportions, and her own power was crippling. The ice wall was all she could do for now. I will have it! I will have it! Give me my power! It roared and prepared a zero to destroy the only barrier between it and its meal. That's enough out of you, a calm voice called out, overpowering the storm and monsters' cries. They both looked over to see a humanoid figure that was almost entirely white, a skull mask with a sharp and angular bull horns, long hair, and tribal lines coming to a single black spot on its chest that seemed like an endless abyss. That lovely lady you want to eat happens to be a queen, and my king wants her safe and snug, he said while looking at the hollow like it was no concern and not even worth eating. And that's also my woman you're attacking, so I'm a little miffed about that. Shiryaku would be miffed at the claim, but he felt so familiar until her eyes widened in recognition. Sangetsu, she thought as she realized who the figure was. Getting annoyed, the hollow unleashed its zero on the other Sanpakto, believing that nothing could change it now. Through the torrent of power, Shiraruki saw Sangetsu's silhouette standing strong and weathering the onslaught, shaking but in an amused fashion, like he found the attack almost comical. As the zero ended, Sangetsu stood tall and unharmed. Is that the best you got? He asked, prompting an angry growl from the hollow. It slithered to Sangetsu quickly and tried to slash him with its scythe-tailed blade. It attacked with a speed that belied its size, which still failed to hit Sangetsu. Growing more and more frustrated, the hollow tried again and again, slashing, biting. It zeros anything it could muster to try and harm the hollow Zanpakuto. Suddenly, the bladed tail hit true and struck Sangetsu right into the spirit's hand and crushing grip. Do you know the definition of insanity? He asked, letting his reiatsu seep out and grow little by little. Clinically, it's a state of being unwell mentally. Other people say that it's doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. His hand released the hollow's tail as it backed up and looked on Sangetsu with a growing terror. Can you relate to that? Your blade can scratch me. You're zero. The hollow released another blast at Sangetsu, and Shiriraku watched his hand rise to grab the blast and destroy it in his grasp. It doesn't even faze me. So are you crazy? Ichigo's blade whispered to the parasite, fear coursing forth from the hollow like a waterfall as he tried once more desperately swing of its blade. Faster than anyone there saw, the second the crimson blade came within an inch of his face, his jaw clamped on its tail. The blade cracked and splintered in his vicious maw, drawing out blood from crushing nerves. Before he shook his head and tore off the tail itself, the parasite screamed in agony while Sangetsu spat out the crimson scythe. Do you know the definition of insanity? Sangetsu whispered one more time. The parasite began to flee, running as fast as he could to get away. Sangetsu, Shirayuki started, somewhat fearful of the other hollow. He merely held up a hand and stopped her. Take care of those three. I'll be done soon, he said before disappearing in a burst of speed. The hollow was a distant thought, lost in the storm. As it tried to flee, its hopes died when it felt a hand slam into its side and pinned it to the ground and saw the empty black gaze of Sangetsu. Let's tenderize that meat, shall we? He asked madly as his claws dug into the hollow's body. Without warning, he started running at top speed while grinding the parasite into the ground and ice, tearing its body apart piece by piece. Once half of its body was gone, Sangetsu let go and watched as the remains tumbled another few miles down the path. He slowly walked to the creature while it barely clung to life. He found it, shrunk to its original size of half a foot long. He grabbed it and held it in front of his face. You're a pathetic excuse of a hollow, and you taste bland. You are not worth the effort to eat, he said before devouring the parasite, absorbing its reishi and making it his own. After changing the hollow's reishi to his own Sanpakuto's mix, he returned to Sodo no Shirayuki, who dropped her ice wall and restored the calm of the snow landscape. It's done, she asked, earning a nod from the other Sanpakuto. I still feel that dark, empty, chaotic energy. The snow woman clutched her chest, but now it feels calmer. She watched the dark blade come to her and remove his mask, revealing the bone white copy of Ichigo. This is you, she whispered as he kissed her, and she closed her eyes to embrace it for the precious few seconds they were connected. It will not change you, and she won't have complete holification. Sangetsu explained to his snow woman lover. For now, anyways, but she will have to learn how to control it, he said before embracing her one more time. Time for me to go, he said before he faded from the inner world. Present Squad 4. So yeah, you're going to need to talk with the other visors, Ichigo said, not looking at Rukia, who was currently glaring at him. She was safe, but at the cost of being infected with Hollow Reishi. It would be beneficial to have the powers, but unless it was her own, then it was just going to throw her soul out of balance, meaning she was bedridden in that stasis field for the foreseeable future. Until Kisuke could whip something up, she just accepted the state of her life and scanned the room, found the siblings on life support in their own stasis fields. She gasped in shock and concern, seeing the two she cared for in such a state. Ichigo followed her gaze inside at the site. After Sangetsu destroyed that parasite and separated the three of you, they explained what happened. Ichigo told her while she kept looking at the two. It was a little over a century ago when the parasite attacked you through a Soul Reaper host. You told them to run, but they refused to abandon you, staying to try and protect you. It mostly wounded them just as her teleportation powers activated and fused the hollow to them. It feeded on the power and shaved away their sanity until it deemed them ready. They never healed and were ready they never healed and were back to almost dying before Tessei and Kisuke put them there. Hachi tried to reverse their time with the keto he made, but it was too far back for him to restore. He finished just as the girl's eyes opened up, slowly and weak before she was awake. She saw her sister figure and smiled through the pain and exhaustion. Rukia, she said weakly, her voice muffled by a breathing mask. I'm sorry for the trouble. Her breath was labored, still weak from this disconnection from the hollow parasite. It's all right, Rukia said, interrupting the girl. You two did nothing wrong. Just get some rest and recover. The two opened to reveal Unohana, who smiled brightly at her patience. Good, you three are awake, she said, keeping up that motherly attitude. That means you're recovering just fine, she said before going to the siblings and picking up the girl's clipboard. Now, to get your names. The captain looked at them expectantly when they turned away with look of shame. Her name is Homura, Rukia said, earning a look of surprise from the siblings before tears of joy began to form. And his name is Shizuko. I promised, didn't I? Rukia smiled to the siblings who were crying in joy. The two of you shine brightly. Unohana said thoroughly. Those are wonderful names, Rukia. Good choice. The senior captain smiled approvingly while the now named siblings tried to reach each other through the stasis fields. Last names? Unohana asked again while writing the names down. You can put them down as Shiba Retsu, a rough tomboy called out as Kukaku barged in, showing the apathy for authority or formality that was common amongst the Shiba. The captain merely took it in stride and wrote down the names. Hopefully you can be discharged soon so we can meet on more pleasant circumstances, Unohana said as she finished the checkup. Welcome Humaru and Shizuko Shiba. I hope to get to know the both of you later on. And she then left with Kukaku, who gave her trademark smirk to the people in the room. Byakuya told me what you promised the kids, so it stood for reason that they want to stay with you as family. Kukaku began explaining her actions. Problem is that the Kuchiki elders are breathing down his neck, just waiting for an excuse to get rid of him. He already broke the law with you and your sister Rukia. Then he spat in their faces at your wedding, so I decided, what the hell, and got them registered in my clan. She turned her gaze to the stunned siblings and smiled as bright as her fireworks. The clan she married into when she got hitched to my cousin. Homaru and Shuka's eyes widened as they put the pieces together. That's right, kiddos. You are now legally related to Rukia. Welcome to the family. The water works returned, but Kukaku decided to let it pass. The kids finally had family, and she let them celebrate. I'll have Shiro Ganehiko pick them up after they recover, she said as she began to depart. Rest up, you two. I don't like slackers in the family, she yelled before shutting the door. She really believes in tough love, Ichigo muttered under his breath, causing Rukia to giggle. And they stayed like that a few more hours, talking about how order was being restored throughout the Gotei squads. Love Squad still needed to work as there was still chaos among the ranks and the Rukon folk. After a while, Urahara, Tessai, Hachi, and Yamamoto entered the room carrying a small box that was riddled with seals. Ichigo bowed respectfully. Rukia tried but was unable in her seated position, and the siblings were completely lost, only knowing to feel nervous when the old man looked at them directly. Though not entirely your fault, you both caused no small measure of trouble for all of us, Yamato scolded the two, making them flinch reflexively. You have potential, but are undisciplined. That is something I will not abide. After you are fully recovered, you will both attend Shino's academy to refine your skills. He spoke roughly, shocking the two that they weren't getting punished. Lieutenant Rukia, she jumped as the head captain addressed her. You are to tutor the two of them in your spare time. Understood? Yes, sir, she said, overly enthusiastically. I won't let you down. He merely grunted in approval before letting Kisuke come forward with the box. Ichigo, within this box is the Hokyoku, Urahara started, surprising Ichigo with a small detail. I used it briefly to try and reverse the holification that Shinji and the others were going through. Instead, it stabilized them into the visors you know today. So, we're doing that. Tessai and Hachi are going to dispel the stasis barrier while you attach the Hokugyu with the central thought of, I want to save them. That should fix things, he explained, making Ichigo nod a little nervously. Light flashed from the box as the seal was undone, revealing a black jeweled ball. The barriers dropped slowly as Ichigo charged his hand full of reishi. Make them better, Ichigo thought, as his hand drew near the sphere, and inked blackness reached out to meet his finger. Don't let them die. He connected to the Hokugyu, and the room was engulfed in an explosion of light. Found the rack, throne room. Basby delivered his report to the Quincy King about Ichigo and Uryu's response to their meeting, how they bore resentment to the Emperor for what happened to their mothers, and that they want no part with the Quincy. He didn't reveal the extent of their hate for the man, just that they were different from the prideful Quincy that fought the Soul Reapers. He never let it slip that he considered they might be right, that Yuabaha was not the savior or ally of the Vanderijk saw him as. The old grudges Bass had were slowly coming back to him. He stuck around because of his friend Jugram. But what would be the point if the entirety of the Quincy were expendable? My poor naive sons, Yowaka said after Bazard finished. If only they knew the truth of the Shinigami and their depravity. No matter. He gave a dismissive wave of his hand to the heat, who bowed as he backed away. They will learn the truth soon enough. All my children are equally precious to me. Precious as what? Bazard thought to himself as he left, only sparing a slight glance to his old friend. Ichigo knew to you, we will talk more about this matter. He made his way for the sun gate to depart back to the world of the living. Las noches, Aizen study. Now, how to go about it and who to send? Aizen asked himself as he plotted. He needed a way to get Ichigo to Wakamundo and keep him there, meaning a hostage or two. He considered Orihime, but nothing about her proved useful. He learned about her being an exorcist, but then she disappeared from his radar. Toski would likely die before being brought in, and hostages are only good when they're alive. Masaki was an excellent choice, but he didn't know if her powers returned. The final choice was obvious, a pair of little sisters that he would fight anything for. On the other side of the room was a loyal bat and a treacherous snake. What is going through Lord Aizen's head right now? Ulquiorra asked, looking at the images on the screen and seeing the siblings. They almost reminded him of his old friend at that age. If I knew Aizen, and I do for the most part, he's thinking of bringing Ichigo's sisters as our guest, Jin said, emphasizing guests to let the implications sit in. There was the barest hint of the hollow's eyes widening before setting to normal. A decision that might destroy Las Noches, Urquiora stated, knowing full well what chaos might come of those fights. Depends on who goes and who he fights, Jin said before leaving the rancor with his thoughts. And Grimjaw finally embraced his destructive self and has shown a lack of care for rank so long as he could fight. Even without that ace, Urquiora thought him, he'd still be assured the fifth rank when he returned to his place among the Expata. No one likes his replacement. Urquiora looked at the images of Ichigo's sister with a strange feeling in his chest. What is this heavy feeling? West Rukon 25. I'm going to do one more sweep and then head back. Ganju reported to his patrol unit in the 14th squad. When people started losing their memories, he did a few things that he was not particularly proud of, and Love did not appreciate it. It ended with a fist in his face and more than a few broken teeth, an issue that plenty of people needed resolved. He was going through alleys and back roads, trying to find anything out of the ordinary when he heard a familiar voice. It works splendidly, the voice sounded out. Definitely an improvement over the previous work. Is that the third seed, Kibune? Ganju asked himself as he hid himself and followed the direction of Kibune's voice until he found the third seed of his squad, talking to a man with a scar and a mask covering from his nose to his neck, with purple hair and dressed like an armored ninja. Finally, the dirt Captain Love wanted. He thought in excitement as he watched it too. Since we got our new benefactors, we've been able to improve the Bakoten to great strength than before, the ninja said, sounding pleased. But it seems like the princess is becoming aware of the situation. If we fail to kill her, she may flee to the world of the living. Ganju's eyes widened as he couldn't believe his ears. The idea was that Makoto just wanted power for himself, but this was political cloak and dagger stuff. I heard about the prowess of the Kurosaki Ichigo, but what about his weaknesses? Makoto laughed, almost like he considered the whole thing like it was a bad joke. From what the idiot Ganju said, anything concerning his family could be considering his weaknesses. Pacifying him should be easy from there. Ganju struggled to keep himself hidden from the initial outrage of them threatening his family to laughing at the idea of them fighting his cousin, then terror and what Ichigo would do if his family was threatened. I need to get to the captain, Ganju thought as he utilized what flash step he could manage to reach the leader of his squad. Illustrated Guide to Soul Reapers. Hiyori trains the new advisors. Alright, listen up. Hiyori yelled out to the trio of Rukia and the siblings. It took a couple of days, but they recovered enough to begin advisor training. Since the other advisors are busy with their squads, and my job can be done by any of Kiski's stupid monkeys, I get the wonderful job of training you ungrateful jackasses. The siblings were cowering behind Rukia, while Lieutenant glared at the foul-tempered girl. My training is simple and comes in 3 simple steps. Step 1, endurance, she said before pointing at 3 old-fashioned walker exercise machines. The Super Hiyori Walker version 2. Get on and don't stop till I say so. The trio stared at the machine till they were like they were some kind of joke. Rose came walking by, planning to have tea with Jushiro after the 5th invite he got from the sickly man. He saw the people and the machines and merely let out a sorrowful sigh. You have my condolences, Rukia. Hiyori is the temp replacement. The meek brown-haired member of Squad 12, sent to handle Hiyori's job, made his way into the shop that served as Squad 15's base of operations. He almost tripped over his feet a couple of times, but the frontline soldiers of the 15th were ready and able to catch him practically before he broke something expensive. Again, the top-knotted scientist made his way deeper into the compound and was met by third seat Lisa. You must be our temporary comms officer sent to replace Hiyori, she stated, looking through her scheduled log. Yes, the boy responded with a shy nod. I'm Rin Sukibokaru, ma'am. Follow me, Lisa ordered quickly, not letting the boy continue as she led him into the monitoring room. Once they got there, Rin's eyes started to sparkle as he saw piles of candies and sweets littering the room. His sweet tooth ached to try each and every kind in front of him, but as he reached for the first pile, his hand was smacked by Lisa's bullet. Eating snacks here is forbidden. This job requires constant vigilance and no distractions, no matter how minor, not even bathroom breaks. She scolded sternly, showing a cold and evil side that lectured the newbie until he felt like a shriveled up worm. So, how long is she going to indulge in this sadistic phase? One of the Soul Reapers that was in the know asked his coworker. Probably until the lieutenant gives her a spanking like she keeps asking. She responded, wishing they kept the S stuff out of the pervert's hands. Shameless Avengers reference. I have an army, Aizen boasted to the upstart hybrid that dared to invade his fortress of Las Noches. We have Zaraki, Ichigo returned, making eyes and eyes wide in recognition and shock. Outside the throne room in the desert expanse within the massive fortress was the Kenpachi, who just bisected a skeleton wearing a crown and mist-like cloak with a large axe. Puny god, he growled as the body faded away. End of chapter 51.